2 weeks ago I completed playing and recording all of the Gallet Caprices, and I felt like I needed a week off last week, but I've been itching to have something in my diary, something to work towards each week, and I've been inspired by my colleague Emily Worthington, clarinet player with the ensemble Boxwood and Brass, and she's, like a lot of musicians, been looking for challenges, and her particular challenge has been to every couple of weeks record a new piece on one of the many clarinets in her collection. And I was also really impressed with how Emily's been using technology to record multiple lines and things like this. So I thought a fun piece for me to turn to is something I've had in my library for a while but never got round to playing. And you'll see why this is particularly appropriate given I'm following in the footsteps of a clarinet colleague of mine. The piece in question is a transcription by horn player Franz of the slow movement of the Mozart Clarinet Concerto. And Franz makes a few changes to the solo line to make it more horn appropriate. But I think the biggest difference is he does some interesting things with accompaniment. You'll see that there is quite a new bass line added at one point, and there's a few harmonic differences which was quite enjoyable and nice to include. The instrument which I decided to use is this one from my collection, and this is a rotary horn from the late 19th, early 20th century. It's a crook here to put it into F, and yes, so it's a single crooked rotary instrument. This instrument was made by the Bohemian makers Bohland and Fuchs in Graslitz, modern day Kraslice in the Czech Republic, and it's got quite a lot of information on the bell. Not only does it have the maker's mark, and it's quite an early mark for Bohland and Fuchs, but it's also got details of now Josef Keilwerth, also of Graslitz. Now this is actually kind of rather badly scratched into the bell. Whether this was Josef Keilwerth selling it second-hand later on, or even when it was new, but they were both Graslitz maker sellers, so I think it's probably a later reselling. And also there's details in the bell, KK Berg and Hüttenverwaltung, so the Imperial and Royal mountain and hut administrations, and there's a little engraved work tools, so this was probably some sort of work band instrument, of Jáchymsthal, so again a Bohemian city. In fact a place very famous for its mining. So why this instrument? The reason I chose to use this instrument is Franz is a very well known name to horn players. I grew up playing music from his method book. Franz, and this is a really tatty one now, Franz was the big teacher in Dresden, and right at the beginning of his book he includes some illustrations as to some really quite amazingly inventive horns throughout the ages. And he uses all these pictures up to what was then present day. So we're looking about 1880s, 1890s for this. And the instrument that he depicts in his method book, which he says this is what we're using today, the closest instrument I have in my collection is the Bohland and Fuchs. So that's why I chose to use this Bohland and Fuchs single rotary horn for my recording of Franz's transcription of the slow movement of the Mozart Clarinet Concerto. Hope you enjoy.